I understand they scarcely ever get snow in Virginia. That'll be a relief. These winters are hell froze over. Henry complained, unbuttoning his suspenders and wiggling out of his wool trousers to swap them for his new blue ones. The air was biting cold, making the hairs on his legs stand up. He kicked the trousers off his ankles urgently so he could pull his new ones on as quick as possible, but trying to get them off over his boots was more trouble than it was worth. Meanwhile, his balls were trying to retreat clear into his body to escape the cold. It was lucky they were headed to the front, because he had not thought to bring his flannel drawers. Last winter, I heard there were folks up near St. Cloud who froze to death because they went out in a blizzard to milk a cow, and the snow was coming down so thick they got lost on their way back from the barn, Charley said, slightly muffled. Henry leaned down to pull at his trouser ankles, contorting under the slope of canvas. Now that he was halfway through without removing his boots, there was no reason to double back and start over. It was just the cuff of the trousers, probably caught on the boot sole. As he scrabbled, his heel caught at the blanket in the middle of the tent and pulled it taut. It held for a breathless moment before the edges, tucked around the center pole, slid loose, and the blanket crumpled, with scarcely a rustle, to the ground. Henry froze guiltily and stared at what the rough, felted wool had been hiding from view. Charley was buttoning up her stays over a clean white shirt, tightly woven enough that he couldn't really see the curve of her breast, but thin enough that he could see the shadow of her nipples. And there he was, with his pants caught around his ankles, the drape of his own shirt doing very little to hide his immediate interest. It was cold, but his face was burning with embarrassment. He didn't usually wear drawers, but for the first time, he felt strongly that he might start. Charley hadn't noticed yet. She had her chin tucked to one shoulder, buttoning a shoulder strap in place, her dark curls falling over her brow. Henry thought to reach out and try to replace the blanket, but he was terrified that if he moved, she would look up and see that he had a hard one, and Smith's disdainful glare would narrow her eyes and he would be humiliated. So he remained frozen, his knees up and his shirt tucked between his bare legs. His mouth was so dry he thought his tongue might get stuck to the roof of his mouth. She must have sensed something was wrong, because she looked up and regarded him with her wide, dark eyes. For a moment that felt like a goddamn eternity.